try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Lions, tigers, bears are my king of the jungle, I stand for the pride. Beat on my chest, that's the rhythm inside. I got so much heart, I'm burning with fire. Can't stop, won't stop till I drop. Keep climbing for the top. Simmer down, you too loud, people around. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.
There's little doubt that women's sport is on the rise. The interest is growing, the perception is shifting. Look at the massive uptake in interest given the Lionesses' success at the recent European Championships. Women's boxing has been on the rise since the London 2012 Olympic Games, a decade in which more stars have emerged in the sport. We have spoken to boxers, trainers, their managers, promoters, to see what women's boxing needs to do to grow the sport, what the boxers are going through. Come with us as we explore the journeys of Paige Goodyear, Christina O'Hara McCafferty and Lauren Parker as they find their way in the sport and explain how they got into it. What drove you to get involved in boxing?
I think just as a kid growing up in a house with a lot of siblings, there's always that sibling rivalry. My father loved the boxing, a couple of his family boxed too. I just went into the local youth club one day with one of my friends and we went in for a mess about really, and that was it. It was love at first sight.
I did kickboxing from the age of 7, and then my uncle actually knew of my head coach, Maka. Obviously I went down the gym, and at first I was just like a little fat kid. And then I went there to like self-defense and lose weight, and then I just felt like I got the bug for it and I loved it, and then I lost a load of weight. Back then as well, when I started, there weren't much like girls about, so I went into the national championships, won my first national title at the age of 13, and I just loved it. And then from there I just went higher and higher and got into Team England and started travelling the world.
So basically, I actually started out doing a little bit of kickboxing, and my dad used to take me to kickboxing shows.
And it was just a random event which tickets were just available for, go and spare. And she came along.
I just remember seeing the girls on the show boxing, and to be honest, I was just massively inspired by that. I
didn't give it a second thought that she would be remotely interested. And suddenly she sort of hit me with, she liked the idea of doing it, and I didn't know if that was meant to happen, you know.
Yeah, it just grew from there really, thinking, do you know what, I reckon I could be good at that. I used to give up a lot of clubs as a kid, went for a few sessions and then that'd be it done. But with boxing, it was something special about boxing, and after giving it a go for the first time, it stuck.
Where does women's boxing stand at this moment in time?
I've seen a big improvement in women's boxing. Roughly about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I trained a girl, Christina McMahon, who went on to win the WBC silver world title. And the way the women were treated then was very poorly, both financially and just in a general aspect of, you never see a woman topping the bill or anything like that, which was crazy because she was a great boxer. So I've seen a big change. It's actually where I met Christina, because my wife Christina was actually Christina McMahon's chief sparring partner. I can remember watching the spars and going, gee, this young girl has something. You would have thought it was her getting ready for the world title,
There's a lot of females now who are paving the way for female boxing, creating massive platforms. The likes of Katie Taylor and Natasha Jonas, even this big fight that's happening for female boxing, Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, they're all massive parts in building the platform for the rest of the women coming through. I think female boxing's in a really good place. Still, in my opinion, it still has a long way to go, but I feel like it sits in a good place.
People are starting to watch now and go, the quality of boxing is brilliant. Maybe going back 10 years ago, there was a lot of mismatches because you had a very high level of female boxing and then a very low level, and you know, whereas now it's a lot of 50-50 fights. So yeah, it's definitely improved this last 10 years.
I think women's boxing recently has grown phenomenally. You know, when I first started boxing, I'd be the only girl in the gym, but now you walk through the door and you're seeing other young girls sort of coming through.
Oh, I think it's right up there at the moment. I think it's more exciting at times than the men's fights, to be honest. I think that's due to being 2-minute rounds, shorter distance, but yeah, I think it's right up there at the moment, flying high.
Even as a professional, looking how a lot of the amateurs, you know, they've come through, they're all like turning over pro. You're seeing big fights now, topping the main cards, you know, and I just think that is a massive movement, as before, back in the day, you'd never even see that, you wouldn't even see a female on the show. So yeah, just to see how it's moving, it's yeah, it's all very, very positive.
I think it is really in a good place at the moment. Like, we're thriving, amateur-wise, professional-wise. Like, he's just smashing it. I just feel like, obviously, the likes of like Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall fights, them sort of fights happening is just massive. Especially like Katie Taylor and Serrano. Like, it's just unreal. That's the fights you want to see. And obviously, publicity-wise, it's just going to push women's boxing even more.
Do you feel it's given enough respect?
Do you know, it needs normalising. Women's boxing absolutely needs normalising, and I think as time progresses it will get there, but I just think it's a crying shame that, you know, the first time it was in the Olympics was 2012, and we still just need to do more to make this a acceptable elite sport.
It's got a really good strong foundation now. You know, it were, not going to say underground, but it was kind of not respected, very, very small. There were no real names or stars. Obviously Katie Taylor's done a massive amount to change that. And I think now it's got that strong foundation. We've had the big fights, Katie Taylor, Tasha Jonas, Terry Harper, who's just from down the road. You know, those girls have taken it to another level now.
Being successful in a male-orientated industry is massive, and it opens doors for other females just to do so well and encourage them. You know, even if a woman wants to step foot into a boxing gym now, she's getting that encouragement and she's seeing other people being successful, and it can be a scary place, especially when you know it is male orientated.
To be honest, watching women's boxing is very often more exciting than the guys. The women seem to go out there, they get stuck in, and yeah, there's definitely an element of speaking to friends, oh, I don't follow women's boxing. Well, you should.
Some people still don't accept that women can do it as good as men, and I feel like women can do it better than men. We still have a good bit to go in terms of respect, but we're definitely earning our respect every time we get into the ring.
I would like to see a lot more females involved in the coaching aspect, the judging aspect, the refereeing aspect. I think that would help female boxing quite a lot, because women tend to be a lot more, you know, they know what's going on with each other and they can speak on a personal level, you know, on a lot of aspects. So yeah, I would like to see a lot more female participation in coaching and stuff, you know.
Back when I first started, like 10 years ago, I was the only girl in the gym. But now, like, you go down to any amateur gym and it's just normal, you see. And the women that, well, say girls, that just train harder than the men most of the time.
And this is the thing about women's boxing, is that, like, because of the 2-minute rounds, they're quicker, they're exciting. As time progresses, I really do hope that the society, if you like, gets on board with the idea of women being equally as good as the guys, if not better in many cases.
What does women's boxing need to progress and move forward?
I just think it needs more recognition, more platforms, more female builds, you know, more female promoters, more female coaches. It just needs more women and taking us the right path from a woman to woman, understanding another woman and taking us all the way to the top.
And I think in boxing it is totally male dominated, and I think it's really important that the girls have a lady that they can go to. Well, whatever it's about, whether it's about the money, being uncomfortable in certain situations, finances, purses, they should have somebody they can go to, and I think Unified Promotions is going to bring something new into that area.
People like Susanna on board at the minute, she's obviously pushing to highlight the female boxing and the qualities that it brings. she may well inspire an awful lot of other female promoters to come on board and try and do the same for the sport. At the minute, from what I see, she stands out alone in promoting female boxing. So there is room for more female promoters and stuff like that. At the minute, she's a leading light, you know.
God, without being too controversial, needs sponsorship. There's lots of people talking a really good game about how much they like to watch and engage with women's sport now, but it needs the funding. It's not necessarily there at the moment to the level certainly we see in other sports, and particularly in women's boxing. But yeah, we'll aim to get it up there. It's what part of my job is. It's why I got into boxing. I'm passionate about the sport, but I'm passionate about helping women achieve their goals as well. And we need some money.
Why should audiences tune in on October the 7th to see women's boxing?
We're going to have a massive, massive bill. I think 5 very, very exciting fights in an amazing venue. Going to be magnificent for us.
The 2-minute rounds are all action. 3-minute rounds, a lot of men seem to pace themselves an awful lot. They maybe only work for a minute out of that 3 minutes, whereas the females seem to go non-stop for the 2 minutes,
You need to tune in because we are all great fighters. I'm going to speak for myself as well. We train very, very hard. We've got a lot of skill and we want to prove ourselves. And, the way we train, I feel like the show that we will put on will be very exciting. And if you don't, then you're going to miss out.
It's going to be an epic show, that's for sure. Especially for my fight, I know how hard I've fought for this. And just for obviously this promotion and this actual fight night, it's just going to be unreal. I'm going to make sure that it's a show not to be missed.
Because the girls deserve it, the girls deserve their own platform and they deserve the support, not just to be an afterthought stuck down the card, which they've been in the past, like I said. They've now got their own platform and it's important to get the support and the following and the opportunity, and more than anything, the opportunities that they deserve.
Women's boxing is exceptional. It's fast-paced, it's hard, and I believe there's a very big difference between female and male boxing to a sense that there isn't the depth there at the moment. So there aren't as many kind of journey women just getting into fight. They fight because they believe they can win, and that creates real passion in the ring, and it creates really interesting boxing to watch. So if people aren't watching, they're missing out. It's an amazing sport, and the dedication of the women that get into that ring is exceptional.
So I fight because I've got some crazy passion about bashing people.
I fight for my family, for my son, my husband, my parents, my siblings.
There's just no better feeling, to be honest, with all the hard work that you put in, and then winning is just unreal.
I also fight for all the women who never had a chance to showcase their skills and never had the opportunity. I do have the opportunity, so I do this for you also.
I'm fighting for the young girl that I once was, that was nervous, unconfident, anxious, to install that into other young girls that were like me, to say that if you continue doing what you do and what you love, I promise you, you'll be successful.
What an amazing insight into the lives, desires, will and career of these fighters. Well, you can tune in on the BBC iPlayer live on Friday, October the 7th, where they'll be fighting at the Magna Centre in Sheffield. Don't miss it.